So I'm going to show a couple more features of the connector from Deer to Zoho. First of all, we'll look at a couple of basic reports, including a geographic map report and showing some links we can add in the Zoho reports, which take us back to Deer and also to a special backorder analysis page. And finally, we'll look at an advanced report with what I call a synthesized KPI. We're going to be calculating custom repeat rate, both as a table and as a chart.
So let's look at a couple of the features in more detail. So I'm going to choose a table to start my report. I'm going to choose this table, the Sales Lines Lifecycle table, which is a table that captures information down to the order line level, and it summarizes for every order line the quantity which has been ordered, but also the quantity which has been shipped, quantity which has been shipped and has a tracking number, quantity of the line which is in the process of fulfillment, so it's been authorized picked at least but hasn't been shipped yet. We have quantity which is not yet processed, so it's an authorized order but nothing's happened. We've got something which is not yet shipped, which means not only has it means that it might be processed but hasn't completed shipment, and the invoice quantity, of course. So this gives an overview of what I call the life cycle of the order during fulfillment. So this is a table which lets us do pretty detailed investigation of what's going on with our order fulfillments. Average price is there, and each of those quantities is given a value as well. So the dollar figure here lets us see which are the most financially significant orders which haven't been shipped yet. And there's some miscellaneous information as well. So there's the actual COGS if it's been shipped, and there's some information about drop shipments if it's a drop shipment order. Right, so that's the table. Let's make a query out of that. Let's make a pivot view. So let's grab the order reference. Let's put the order status. First of all, let's get some of the quantities. Let's get the quantities that have been ordered and the quantities which have not yet started processing. Okay, so that's a pretty simple report. I could add in some extra information if I wanted to. I can grab the sales header, and perhaps I could grab the warehouse associated with the order. I could put that in columns. Let's have a quick look at that. So this test data only has one warehouse, but in principle we would see multiple warehouses if our Deer had them. Now you might not want to do it at order level. You might want to consolidate these by month or date or customer group or channel, but I'm going to keep it with order because going down to the sales header table, I want to show a couple of fields which are links. So let me put this link to Deer here, and I'll pick up this link as well. And I will grab order status, and I will make order status a filter, and we will remove voided orders. So let's have a look at all of that. Remove the totals, they're just distracting me for this purpose. So here are the two new columns. If you're logged into Deer, clicking on this will take you to the order in Deer in a new tab. Works for advanced orders and simple orders. So you can see the order very conveniently. This link, the second link, goes to this summary. Now this summary is not generated from or by Deer. It's obviously based on data from Deer. It's generated by the Growth Path application platform. So this is an order summary that uses the cache. That's why it was so fast to respond. And it shows an overview of the order, sort of a customer service overview. What was ordered, what's been shipped so far, and the latest stock availability information, which might help you discuss with a customer on the phone when the products could be shipped. And there's fulfillment details here as well for all the fulfillments of the order. So that summary can be accessed by adding this link to the report. So any report that you can add the sales order header to, you can drag these two fields into the report.
Next, we're going to look at a geographical map type of chart. So I create a chart view, all based on the sales header. Let's grab the postcode, which is here, shipping postcode, and we're going to put that on the y-axis. X-axis, sorry. In the y-axis, we'll grab the amount invoiced. So Zoho has recognized that the data type of the postcode, it has been tagged as being a geographical identifier. So it's right away plotted this according to the postcode of all the sales. So the next report I'm going to show, which will end this video, is a report based on repeat rate. Repeat rate is a measure of customer loyalty. I call it a synthesized KPI because it's a KPI we construct from the data. It's not directly from the data we have. We have to work out how to calculate it. So this definition of repeat rate is basically the number of times a customer orders per year. So we need to know the number of unique orders placed in the past 12 months and the number of unique customers. So that's based from the sales fact table, the main table for this type of sales inquiry in Zoho. So the first place to start is to create a pivot view before we worry about a chart. So we can imagine that we're going to have this data for all the financial years in the data set. So I'll put the financial year of the transaction date in the column, and let's grab just anything to show at the beginning, to show what we have in the data. So I'll just take the average unit price just to show some data. So we're going to have values here for each of the financial years. Turn off columns. Okay, right, but we're not really interested in average unit net price. We're interested in the repeat rate. So there have been two aggregate columns added to the report. An aggregate column is based on a formula which sums up the data in the report. So I could most easily do it like this. How do we calculate those aggregate formulas? Let's edit this one. It's pretty simple. So I'm using the SQL feature distinct count. And the field that I'm counting is the unique identifier of the customer. Now I do the same for orders. So we look at this formula. It's counting the unique values for customer orders. Okay, so let's look at this. Great, now we've got per financial year in this test data set that information. But we want the repeat rate, which is number of orders divided by the number of customers. So this calculation can only be done after we've already calculated the distinct customers and the distinct orders. Because I can't calculate the value until these are known, I can't use an aggregate formula to do that. But Zoho Reports has this feature where I can create a column based on existing columns in the report. So that's the repeat rate, and it's going to be the number of orders divided by the number of customers, like so. And now we have repeat rate. The disadvantage of this approach is that I have to show customers in distinct orders. They need to be present on the report. If they're not present on the report, I can't get the report to calculate the repeat rate. We can do all the usual Zoho tricks. So if we want to look at repeat rate per some subset of the customers, for instance the sales rep, I can add that to the data, and now we've got repeat rate per channel. Good, that's repeat rate. Let's turn that into a chart. So I'm going to base the chart, of course, on the same base table. So I go to create a chart view. I'm going to put the year on the x-axis and now the y-axis. So I want these values again because I need these two values here before I can calculate my repeat rate. I'll repeat the trick here of using the existing columns, so the number of orders divided by customers. Okay. Now, I'm really only interested in the repeat rate. In view mode, a user can turn off these distracting values, but I can also permanently make them hard to see by modifying the axis value and perhaps setting the maximum value to 100,000. And while I'm here, I want this range to start at 0. And we have a repeat rate target of 2, so I'll make it go up to 2. And now it's a little bit easier to see. So that's a repeat rate chart, which is a good way to present this data.
So that concludes our quick review of a couple of interesting features of the Zoho Analytics and the connector that I've built between Dia and Zoho. We looked at basic reports, we looked at making URLs so that we can jump back into the order page on Dia, and also the backorder analysis special feature that is part of the growth path connector. We looked at how you can quickly plot addresses on a map. And finally, we talked about a more advanced report with a synthesized KPI customer repeat rate. We got that into a pivot table and into a chart.